Hello again, everyone. Thank you for choosing to join us for this talk and not the other ones. That's much appreciated by me and the panel here today. This is actually one of the talks I've been looking forward to the most today, because we're going to be talking to some of our winners of the inaugural Undergraduate of the Year from last year. So that competition again launched last year for the first time, and we've actually doubled the amount of the awards this year, and we've a stand here today, which I think is just behind me to the left, called the Undergraduate of the Year stand, where you can enter for a certain category. Reminder, you can only enter one category, but there's an opportunity to win a laptop if you enter at the stand here today. So if you get a chance after this talk, just make sure to head over there. But look, you're not here to listen to me, you're here to listen to the guys. So I'm going to start off with Jessica. Can you just tell me your name, what you studied and where, and then the award you applied for last year?
Yes, so my name is Jessica. I study management practice in C2 in Carlow. So hi guys. So I would have studied sports coaching and business management from first to third year, and now I study management practice for fourth year. And I applied for the Management Undergraduate of the Year award for last year.
Yeah, so my name is Katie. I study international business with Spanish in UL, and I applied for the Female Undergraduate of the Year award last year.
My name's Dennis. I just graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Food Marketing and Entrepreneurship from University College Cork. I'm working with Dairy Gold Cooperative Society as a Milk Advisory Supply Chain graduate, and I'm currently doing a postgrad in UCC in Design Thinking. The award that I applied for was the Future Business Leader of the Year, sponsored by Gradireland.
Perfect. So I'm going to stick with you, Dennis, for the first question, which is, can you tell everyone here why you applied for that award? Why do you think it best suited you?
Yeah, so I suppose when I initially looked at all the other awards, I kind of think this one definitely appealed to me. I think, first of all, through the sponsor, Aldi, one of the most notable management and leadership kind of companies in Ireland. I think secondly then, I suppose, what they're offering kind of prize-wise was something that was really interesting, which was a day in the life with an area manager, which was absolutely wonderful. It had a really, really interesting process as well that you kind of entered in under. It was a bunch of psychometric evaluation tests, and also it was an essay. That was something that kind of appealed to me and kind of stood to me then in final year of college. Okay,
great. And we'll get in a little bit more later on about the application process itself and what's involved. But Katie, why did you apply for your chosen category?
So I suppose choosing which award to apply for is probably the first challenge that you come up against in the process, because last year I know there was 4 amazing awards, amazing employers running them, and this year there's double the amount, so I can't even imagine the time that's going to go into choosing those awards. I suppose the choice was kind of twofold. First of all, I went through all the criteria and what the company expected from, say, their ideal award winner, like what kind of characteristics, what kind of experience, and I felt like the experiences I had aligned best with the Female Undergraduate of the Year award. I felt like I could exemplify myself and demonstrate why I'd be a good winner for that award the best. And I suppose if this year there's more than one award that you feel like you're really aligned with and you really want to go for, I'd probably advise taking a look at the actual companies that are running behind the awards and like delving into what you can find out about them and the company culture and things such as that. And once you figure out what you align best with in terms of the award criteria and the company, I think it makes the decision a lot easier.
That's perfect. You preempted one of the questions, so I'll have to avoid you for that one. And Jessica, what about you?
So based on my experiences, I really enjoy management. I've been in management from the age of 16 in multiple different industries. But when I came to applying for this award, first of all, I was kind of toying between female undergrad and management undergrad. But it definitely, if you're going to be applying, go for the one that best suits you. So management was a lot more closely to the award that I was trying to apply for. Excellent employer, Lidl sponsored the award. So I really enjoyed their values and bought into their mission as a company. They back women, especially in business. So it was one of the big reasons why I went and chose that awards category. And I'm absolutely delighted that I did.
Good answer. And just sticking with yourself, Jessica, in terms of the application process itself, how much time would you recommend someone dedicates to it? Maybe even including the research beforehand and then the actual process itself?
Yeah, so it's up to yourself. There's kind of a minimum time frame around submitting an application form, a CV type kind of a form. Then you're looking at 2 hours of online testing. But in terms of initial research, the more you get in, the more you're going to get out. So it's like anything. If you're giving time to an essay or an assignment in college, if you only give it 20 minutes, you're only going to get the results for 20 minutes. So you can't expect to carry on if you're not giving it maximum effort. So in my personal opinion, I would have given a lot of time. In terms of hours, you're looking at maybe 6, 7, 8 hours for the whole process of just online, including the testing. But again, that's totally up to yourself. Now, you don't need to go that far, probably. But again, I would maximise your opportunity to make sure you're getting shortlisted and that you're called in for the final assessments.
Yeah, good advice there. So I think Jessica and Katie, you both touched on, what to do if you were stuck between deciding on what award to apply for, because you can only apply for one, unfortunately. But so we'll avoid you two for that one. But so Dennis, yourself, we have double the amount of categories this year. So if someone maybe was looking at 2 or maybe 3 and they find it really difficult to choose between, I think the guys have already said maybe research the company who's sponsoring it, or maybe see what's best suited to you. But do you have any other advice for anyone who might be struggling to pick between an award?
Yeah, I suppose initially looking, I think, where your career is going to go and which, to say, company and maybe award which might help and benefit you in that. I suppose another thing then to look at is the testing of the award. So some of them would be psychometric evaluations, others would be kind of assessment centres. So kind of look and see what would work best for you and where could you actually learn and put yourself out of your comfort zone as well. That was something that kind of definitely helped me.
Okay, perfect. And look, obviously, as we touched on, the process takes time. It's, it can be a bit on the longer side, but it is worth it, and the rewards at the end are potentially fantastic. And I remember you all at the day for the day of the awards itself. Can you maybe talk a bit about your own experience at the award and maybe one takeaway you had from it? Maybe it's just something that you still remember to this day, or the thing you enjoyed about it the most. Maybe Kate, we'll start with you.
The award ceremony itself. So I suppose that was nearly the award in itself, was getting to be shortlisted and getting to be in and amongst those people. Everyone that's there in that room is like super driven, really inspiring to kind of meet everyone from all across the award categories. And then obviously every award sponsor also sends employees from their organisation to the awards. So you're sitting at the table with, say, the top people in your category and people that are in the industry that you're looking to get into. So the award ceremony itself is absolutely fantastic.
Perfect. Jessica, what was your experience like at the day?
So it was great. Basically, with Lidl, we would have had an assessment centre beforehand. So we actually got to network and meet the other shortlisted candidates. So there was 10 of us, and we got to spend a whole day together doing amazing things up in Lidl head office. So when it came to our awards, we weren't meeting each other for the first time. So there was nothing like new or scary about it. It felt quite comfortable. It was quite relaxed. The environment was quite relaxed, but again, you're inspired. That was the biggest thing for me, was the networking and the inspiration of being in a room with all of those amazing students and amazing people who are the future of the country. So being in and amongst that kind of pool of people was definitely the biggest takeaway for me. Winning the award again itself, it kind of just puts a cap on it, but getting from A to B and going through that process was definitely the biggest take home. The networking, the people that you meet. You know them for life now. You can reach out if you have any queries for life. Yes, you get a nice trophy to put on your shelf, and that's the accolade, but again, it's the people at the end of the day that I definitely took home from the awards.
Okay, perfect. Dennis, what about you? What was your experience like?
I suppose, unlike Jessica, I had never met any of the nominated other people who were up there. So it was actually lovely to meet them. It was actually quite interesting that they were from a range of courses, from health science to engineering to business to marketing. So it's kind of interesting how one ward kind of could collaborate and bring people together. Also meeting representatives from the company and also the other people from shortlisting the awards and stuff. People from my own college and people who would have met down throughout the years in different organisations and stuff as well. That was lovely. I suppose in saying that, at the time I was in final year. It was quite thick and heavy and fast. It was coming very, very busy. It was and it wasn't a welcome break. But up there it was a lovely kind of confidence boost coming into the last couple of weeks of final year while it was very, very busy, and you could see obviously there's life beyond the end of college and life beyond the laptop and the library and all the rest that comes with it. So I think that was something that when I went home, it gave me a great pep in my step to kind of drive on the last few weeks of final year.
Excellent, you're really selling it, which is good. And just, I forgot to mention at the start, we will have time at the end to put questions to the guys. So if you go to slido.com, so slido.com, and put in the code 3684, it'll pop up on my phone, and any time at the end, I'll put it to the guys. So just a reminder of that. And, maybe circling back to yourself, Katie, what do you think was the biggest benefit of doing it? Regardless of whether you'd won or not, what was the biggest benefit to you, maybe, or do you see being for your career, or maybe even you as a person? How has it helped you the most?
I suppose regardless of whether you won or not, the whole process itself was very rewarding. I know there's a lot going on in Irish colleges. Loads of people at third level are doing amazing stuff and making great impact. And I feel like once you do one thing, you kind of tick it off and move on to the next. And you don't really take time to think about what you've achieved or reflect for yourself, and the whole process kind of forces you to do that. You kind of do have to take breath and think about what you've done, think about what you've achieved, and that was really enjoyable in and of itself. Obviously, in addition to that, as a winner you get loads of networking opportunities. I won the award sponsored by Diageo, so I have a mentorship throughout my final year with a senior leader within Diageo, which is obviously like opening doors that you didn't know existed. You know, it's a really great, once you get into the awards program, it really opens your eyes to what is out there. Like Dennis said, like there's life beyond college, and kind of our priorities are flipping now to getting a grad job, and I think it's really, really great for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to kind of see, like, while you're doing your degree, the kind of the opportunities that are out there while you're studying, as opposed to kind of finishing and then you're kind of thrust out into the world and you're told, find a job. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to kind of see what the end goal is at the end. And what about yourself, Jessica? What do you think has been the biggest benefit for you doing, you know, and maybe winning overall?
I think the biggest thing for me, definitely in applying for the whole thing, was just getting out of my comfort zone. I'm terrible for like kind of staying in my lane and kind of staying in between, and you're so focused and driven on just hitting your targets. So I definitely pondered on even applying. So pulling the trigger on that was definitely probably the biggest take home for me and confidence boost for me, especially when you go the whole way and you get to the end and you win and you're like, oh wow, you're good enough, like well done. That was definitely probably the biggest thing for me. Massive confidence boost, like Dennis said, a bit of a pip in your step, and it pushes on for the rest of the year, and you've other targets for the rest of the year as well. So it was definitely the biggest confidence boost in applying and definitely going on and winning the award.
It's great on the day itself to see the winners. We're here today. Nobody expects to win, so it's great when your name is kind of called out and everyone looks shocked. And like I said, everyone gets invited on the day, kind of who's shortlisted in the end. But look, just because you don't win, obviously doesn't mean that your credentials weren't good enough as well. The standard of people applying is unbelievably high. Do you know what I mean? But it is, as I said, a worthwhile experience whether you do win or not, which the guys have said. And maybe I'll throw this one to you, Dennis. So obviously you have to go through the application process to get there and to get shortlisted. Do you feel like that helped you at all when you were applying for jobs? I said, look, you're kind of working now. What aspects of the application process were you able to take from the undergrad to applying for kind of graduate roles and graduate programs?
Absolutely. So I think for a lot of the graduate programs out there, the psychometric evaluation part is really, really important. And it can essentially kind of be determined whether you're in or out of the process without even interviewing. So it's a really important thing to get right. I went through a series of 3 of those assessments with Aldi. They provided to be a great help. They were very difficult. It really made me sit down and properly research how to do them correctly, and it did challenge me. In saying that, these assessment centres can be quite repetitive as you go along the other graduate programmes, so it's great to get that bit of practice into it as well. Also, I suppose, while you are doing those assessment centres and the evaluations, you do get the results back, which was something that was really, really beneficial. So you do all these tests, and normally a company takes the data and analyses themselves, and you don't get to see what they see. But Aldi reverted all the data back to the people who'd done it, and it did categorise was your strong points and your weak points and things that you could improve on. That was something that was really, really, I suppose, positive and beneficial for that. I also had to do a number of questions and essay style answers, which was, I suppose, centred around leadership and my development and kind of impact towards college. That again kind of helps to spark some interest, I suppose, and some imagination around interview process and things like that, and also, like you said, appreciating what you've done in college instead of just moving on from it and forgetting all about it. So that was something that was really strong from it.
And just to stick with you, Dennis, just quickly, because you mentioned something interesting there about maybe assessment centres can sometimes be a bit repetitive. So in your experience, is there one skill you think comes up all the time that people are looking for, employers, whether it was in undergrads, and you can say to people here today, yes, this came up a lot. If there's one thing maybe you should work on ahead of any assessment centre you're looking for, again, whether it's applying for undergrad or a job, what skill do you think that might be?
So I suppose starting with a psychometric evaluation, I suppose there'd be the online tests. While they do seem very, very similar, a company can be looking for a specific type of individual candidate, and it's very, very hard to kind of decipher what they're looking for. My honest opinion is that try to be yourself as much as possible. There's no point trying to be someone else and putting in answers that you think that they want. It's about being yourself. Moving then, I suppose, to the assessment centre part of it, I'd actually use the same advice. You can't pretend to be someone. For me, it was on during COVID and it was online. For the likes, I suppose, the girls here, they are going into, I suppose, assessment centres, which will more likely be in person. So I suppose being your true authentic self, because I think that's what they want to see and that's what they're going to work with. Skill-wise, I suppose a confidence, but not an overpowering confidence, if that makes sense. You want to be a strong candidate and a strong individual without overpowering others and working as a team player. So that's something that could be quite hard to kind of fine-tune, but once you get it right, it does work well for you.
Perfect, yeah, no, really, really good advice. And Katie, just back to you again about the process itself, because I'm sure when people haven't applied before, maybe the thing they're most interested in is the application process itself. What was your favourite thing about the process? Maybe the thing you found easiest or you enjoyed the most? And then on the flip side, what was the part you found most difficult?
My favourite part of the process was probably once I got through to the interview stage and actually met with some of the early career specialists in Diageo, and they were just so friendly. It was a strength-based interview, so no one's trying to catch you out, no one's trying to make you look silly. Like, they're trying to find out what motivates you, what drives you, what's your strength. So that was a really enjoyable part of the interview, which usually would be nerve-wracking, but it was done really, really well, really enjoyed it. The worst part is probably the psychometric test, but I would emphasise that everyone finds them hard. I think they're designed to kind of challenge everyone, and like if you're finding it challenging, that means your norm are probably finding it challenging as well. So I'd probably say they're going to be hard, but don't be disheartened, because I think everyone is a bit shook that they even got past that part. So obviously some of us did well in them, so I definitely wouldn't be disheartened by the psychometric and the numeric tests. I just give them your best shot and they'll do their job, you know, you have to do yours.
And Jessica, what about you? What was the best bit for you and what was the bit you found most difficult?
The best bit was definitely the assessment centre. Getting to go in and meet the other shortlisted candidates. You were literally in a room with 9 other people from all different walks of life, different types of studies, like Dennis mentioned, different career paths, different objectives and goals. So just being in a room with those people for a couple of hours was definitely the best part. Networking, getting to find out a lot about Lidl, Director of HR coming down, JP came down, so that was definitely really, really nice, because you got to get a real nice feel for the organisation, because they were a big reason why I had applied for the Management Undergraduate of the Year award anyways. So that was definitely the best. The most challenging was probably winning the award. I felt awful because I had networked with those 10 people and I felt like that award was for all of us. I didn't feel like it was me as an individual, so that was definitely quite difficult, and that's just because I'm a team player. I play sports. I wouldn't be like a standalone individual in that regard, so I probably struggled with that a little bit. In terms of like the obvious kind of the psychometric testing thing, they are all difficult. They're a little bit of a bump in the road, but again, it's like sitting your leaving cert or sitting in an exam. They're not meant to be easy. You're meant to challenge yourself and test yourself. So that was definitely academically challenging, but yeah, the award was probably the hardest.
No, it's a good answer, because I might come back to Jessica in a minute to maybe to give advice to someone who maybe doesn't have maybe a certain amount of confidence, or they're a bit of an introvert. What advice you might have for someone like that? But it's great to get different answers as well about in terms of what you struggled with. And Dennis, again for you, what was I think you've touched on it, but what was your favourite bit about the whole process? Maybe the bit you found the most difficult.
That's actually quite a hard one. I suppose the favourite part of it was meeting and kind of truly understanding Aldi as an organisation. I suppose the prize part of my award was spending a day with an area manager, and while you can read up as much as you can about it, you don't really get to fully understand and appreciate it until you kind of spend some time in the road, in the job. So it was a long day. It was a very long day with the area manager. It was the real true authentic experience of an early start, late finish, but it gave me a really, really good insight. I suppose the most difficult part, I would say the psychometric assessment centres. They were really hard, really, really hard. But then in saying that, it was beauty that I got these results afterwards and said, oh, I'm actually X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, oh, I could improve there. So that was something that was actually that definitely was tough, but it was positive in the end.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's great, and it's just to kind of showcase as well that some people will find things easier, and other things the thing you found the easiest, someone will be like, oh, that was the hardest part for me. So it's interesting to see, like, no matter what your personality type, the opportunity is there to succeed and kind of go all the way. But again, Jessica, as I touched on earlier, what advice would you have for someone who maybe doesn't see themselves as a confident person, can't picture themselves at an awards do, maybe on stage collecting an award, but obviously you said you maybe had a similar experience like yourself. So what advice would you have for someone who's maybe of that mind frame and is thinking, that's kind of that's putting me off applying?
Yeah, so like it's like anything, when you have to kind of back yourself, most people kind of waver a small bit anyways. But the biggest thing is to just do it. So just throw yourself in. If you can't win if you're not in it, so throw yourself in definitely. And I struggled with that in the application process on whether I thought I was good enough. And the biggest fear and stigma around that for me as an individual who would consider myself a small bit of an introvert was the fact that you're going into this new world. It's not something you're familiar with. You're going into a room with people that you don't know, people that you see your own perspective of them as better than you. But at the end of the day, they're all people. We're all people. We are who we are. We all have our own strengths. We have our super strengths. We all have weaknesses, things that we can improve on. So as someone who was a small bit of an introvert, massive confidence boost. I can't even explain the levels of confidence that it would give you. Getting into the assessment centre, meeting those other candidates, meeting the staff, Denisa and Finola, the guys, they're all people at the end of the day. You see people at the tops of organisations and there's a fear and a stigma of, God, I can't get there. But you can, of course you can. They got there. So definitely as an introvert, just do it. Just pull the trigger, go for it. You've nothing to lose. You've absolutely nothing to lose. You can only get better from it. You'll learn from it in some way, shape or form. That's even if you don't get to assessment centres, you would have done psychometric testing and challenged yourself. You get to the assessment centre, you've networked with new people. You now have 3 or 4 or 5 new connections that you can always reach out to and hash ideas off. So you've nothing to lose. So just go for it. 100% just go for it.
Yeah, no, good advice. I can see a lot of people nodding along as well. So you did your job well there, Jessica. And again, circling back to the application process, looking back, if you wish there was something you knew before you applied, or even maybe during, and you can give these people here today who are thinking of applying that bit of knowledge, that nugget of information, what do you wish it was that someone sat you down and said, this is something you need to know before you apply?
I think going back to that introvert side, how amazing the entire experience is going to be. So again, you just have a fear. There's not much of an excitement around it because you don't know if you're going to get to the next stage or what's next or what's next or what's next. And most people who would apply for these awards are quite goals-based and goals-driven. So again, we check it off the list. We don't get to ponder on the moment. It's what next. We don't get to appreciate what's happened there. So I think if somebody could definitely stand back and just go, it's going to be an incredible experience and you will not understand it or feel it unless you get in it. So just apply and get into it. I think that would have definitely been like, yeah, cool, sign me up. Like, I want to do it. So. Okay,
great. I can see Dennis and Katie nodding along there, but I want you to say something different to each. So, Katie, yourself, if someone there was a piece of information you wish you knew beforehand, before you applied, what would it be?
I suppose it's kind of like, without echoing Jessica too much, like, you're well able for it. And I know the day of the award ceremony, I had never met the 3 other winners before, and it was like we just pulled off a bank heist. Like, we were all looking at each other like, how have we done this? Like, how have we pulled the wool over their eyes? But it's only after you look back and you're like, yeah, of course you can do it. And I think everyone throws in an application and you tell yourself, like, oh, it's for the crack. Like, you don't expect it to go anywhere, but throw it in anyway, because I think that's what motivated us for, like, and we're here now. So I'd have no fear around the situation whatsoever. It's so easy to follow. It's really well done. So just keep ticking the boxes till you get somewhere, I'd say.
Excellent. And Dennis?
Yeah, like, I think along the same lines. Someone actually said to me when I was doing the application process, I goes, this is another application process between graduate programs and this and that. And one of my friends is down the crowd today and she would have said it to me. But in saying that, someone said to me, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You might as well apply. You've nothing to lose. It's just another application. But if you really feel strongly and passionate about it, do put in the time, do put in the effort, and do believe in yourself, because, as I said, it gave me a great confidence boost, one that I didn't think I needed going to final year and the last couple of weeks of it and stuff. So, yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Go for it.
Yeah, no, again, all really good advice from all the 3 guys here today. And look, I said, you gain experience from it as well. Like, you'll be applying for graduate programs, probably more than one, and doing the first one or going to the stage the first time can be intimidating. So to have the opportunity to go through it, maybe the pressure's off a little bit, is handy as well. So we have time for just a couple of questions at the end. I know we've got 5 minutes. Someone's asked about your future plans, but I want to tweak that ever so slightly, make it a little bit more difficult for you. Winning the award itself, did that alter your plans for your career in terms of you didn't think there was a path you could go down? Or did it maybe reaffirm that, yes, this is what I want to do? Jessica, maybe to start with you.
So I'm torn between 2 fields. I study sport, so down in C2 I'm lucky enough to be able to study sport and study business. And I always felt like they had to be different. Or if you were doing sport and management, it had to be sports management, that I couldn't just go and study business. So winning this award definitely opened up my eyes to the fact that my personality isn't just sports. Business has always been there, and that's always been the staple. That's always been the foundation block. And I've kind of built sport on that, not the other way around. So winning this application, getting into Lidl, having my one-on-one mentoring with Maeve McLean, the director of HR, it really has opened up the door to, oh my God, I think I'm actually really leaning more towards business in terms of just corporate business. I worked in food since I was 16 and management since I was 16, and it just seems to be quite a perfect fit. And again, it wouldn't have been something that I'd considered at all. What I liked about Lidl in applying for the job was the fact that they backed women and women in sport. And it never occurred to me about the business aspect and an equal opportunities employer, things like that. So that definitely has shifted me. I've even decided to study management practice for fourth year and move away from the 3 years of studying sport as well. So definitely I now have two things to play with.
Yeah, look, it's great to hear. You know, one of the hardest things people find is trying to make a career decision when you're so young. But like even like in the middle of your degree, you can pivot a little bit, and there's still kind of lots of career opportunities there. You're not pigeonholed. What about you, Kate, in terms of your career or your future plans? How have they been affected from winning the award?
Yeah, I'd say, well, it affirmed it more than anything, I suppose. I had done my work placement at the time and had a really good time and thought like business was for me. But I think the award ceremony, like, it kind of reaffirms, like, you get a buzz off people. When you all have the same goal, you all have the same mindset, like, it's a really great place to be. And I think if you get into like a nice business, like someone that you align with, then you're going to get that buzz every day going into the office. So I think it affirmed it for me, really.
And Dennis, what about you? So obviously you won the award sponsored by Aldi, and I think you said you're with Dairy Gold. That's that correct?
Yeah, so I just recently started the graduate program with Dairy Gold, Cooperative Society. So I'm working as a milk advisor, supply chain graduate. It's a role that I'm really, really enjoying at the moment. It's really, I'm being able to put into practice my knowledge in agri and also what I've learned from college and stuff. I suppose with the award tying into that, it gave me kind of a bit of a newfound confidence saying, look, do you know, you might as well keep going. So I went away and I'm doing a postgraduate in innovation design thinking. It's something that I do find quite challenging, but I find it quite interesting. And I said, only just being out of college, I might as well keep going while I have the time, while I have the energy to plough on with it, I suppose. In saying that, in the future, I suppose the award, similar to Hayley, it kind of reaffirmed that it is, let's say, leadership that I want to go into. It necessarily can change along the way. I think it will. Very happy at the moment in Dairy Gold, and I think that what I have learned from the award and stuff kind of will hopefully add value to the business.
Perfect. Well, that's all the questions I have for you guys today. I think it's not easy to get up stage, especially when you're kind of young. So I think the guys deserve a round of applause for kind of the time here today. So thanks a million, guys. That's it. Thanks again for your time. The next session taking place at 2:15. We're going to have the flip side. So we're going to be talking to employers themselves about graduate programs, what to expect, any tips they have for you before you apply. So that's going to kick off at 2:15 here again. So I'll see you all then.